More news now from Norfolk, Suffolk and Essex. The wife of a convicted murderer from Suffolk has staged a protest outside law courts in London in a bid to get his case referred to the Court of Appeal.
Simon Hall has served 7 years for the murder of pensioner Joan Albert at her home in Capel St Mary near Ipswich. He claims he's innocent. Victoria Webb has this report.
Protesting for Simon Hall's release. His wife of 7 months, Stephanie, believes there are flaws in the evidence that convicted him. She's fighting to get an appeal heard here at the Royal Courts of Justice.
People think that because he was found guilty by a jury that he's obviously, guilty of a crime, and that people can't believe that he's actually innocent.
On the morning of the 16th of December 2001, 79-year-old Joan Albert was found stabbed to death at her home in Capel St Mary. The night before, Simon Hall, who's now 31, had been out with friends in Ipswich before driving back to his parents' house in the same village. Simon Hall didn't have an alibi for the period between 5:30 and 6:15 a.m. on the 16th of December. During his trial, the prosecution said he was short of cash and burgled Joan Albert's home, smashing a window to get in. When she confronted him, Simon feared being recognised, and the only option was to murder her. The prosecution also said that black flock fibres and green polyester fibres found in properties and vehicles associated with Hall were indistinguishable from those found on Joan Albert and the crime scene. But his friends and family say that night he was wearing blue jeans, and there are other explanations for the transfer of these fibres.
His mother was a close friend of Joan Albert's, and she ran a clothing business for several years. She often would walk Joan's dog. She did a lot of cleaning, odd jobs, popped down to the shop for her. So it could have been cross-contamination. The fingerprints at the scene, DNA, footprints weren't Simon's.
Simon Hall was found guilty of murder at Norwich Crown Court in 2003. It's understood that the Criminal Cases Review Commission is currently looking at his case to assess whether he has grounds for an appeal. Stephanie claims he's serving time for a crime he didn't commit and says she won't stop until the real killer is caught. Victoria Webb, Anglia News, London.
The power firm EDF, which supplies the east of England, is to be fined £2 million for poor customer service. Ofgem, the electricity regulator, said that EDF had failed to connect customers quickly enough in more than 100 cases. EDF says it regrets what happened and has made changes to make sure that the problem doesn't happen again.
Fresh concerns are being raised today about data security after a laptop containing patients' details was stolen from a hospital in Essex. Mid-Essex Hospital's NHS Trust, which runs Broomfield Hospital in Chelmsford, has written to some patients telling them the computer was stolen from a locked office during a break-in. It contained details including patients' names and dates of birth, but not addresses. The hospital's apologised to patients and a police investigation is now underway.
2 men who raped and strangled a Suffolk woman and then kept her body in a car boot for 2 days have failed today to appeal against their murder convictions. Robert McCarry and Paul Waters, both from Ipswich, are serving life sentences for the murder of 34-year-old Nicola West. McCarry met Miss West at a pub in Ipswich town centre in February 2007. Today, the Court of Appeal ruled that there was nothing unsafe about the verdicts.
Well, it's been a proud day for RAF personnel and their families in Suffolk.
Yes, members of 15 Squadron were presented with operational medals for their recent 6-month tour in Iraq. The ceremony took place at RAF Honington near Bury St Edmunds. Tom Barton was there.
This is a day to remember for the men of 15 Squadron RAF Regiment. In front of friends and family, they marched in to receive their operational awards for active service in Iraq and Afghanistan. The squadron was the last British combat unit to pull out of Basra when the Iraqi city was handed to local forces in May. Some of their number had seen the city change in 3 tours of duty, the first in 2003.
Basic living was non-existent when I first arrived, was up to normal Western standards in most places when I left. Security was phenomenal. The changes were huge, beyond description, to be honest.
Today was about the airmen and their families. Alongside serving in Iraq, some had also been to Afghanistan. For the men and their squadron leader, it's important to formally recognise the risks they take.
I think the medals presentation ceremony is massively important. It draws a line in the sand from my perspective in terms of the deployed operation. We know we've finished it now, and most importantly, it gives an opportunity for us to bring our friends and families together and just thank them as well for the support they've given us during the deployment.
After the ceremony, a chance for the men and their families to relax with a beer ahead of some well-earned leave over the summer. As the members of 15 squadrons celebrate receiving their operational awards, the thought of active service is never far away. Another squadron from the RAF regiment has just deployed to Afghanistan, and 15 squadron themselves are due out there in autumn next year. Tom Barton, Anglia News at RAF Honington.
A new wildlife hide's been opened in the Breckland area of Norfolk. The hide at East Wretham Heath near Thetford has been built by the Norfolk Wildlife Trust. It overlooks one of the Heath's natural lakes and is designed to blend into the landscape.
In the spring and summer we have breeding birds like the little ringed plover, lapwing, and also migrant waders like redshank, snipe, black-tailed godwit calling in occasionally on their passage to their summer breeding grounds. This new hide is going to give visitors to East Wretham Heath the opportunity to enjoy some of the spectacular wildlife which can be viewed here during the summer and winter months.
Now, how would you like to eat chocolate every day for a whole year? Well, that's exactly what scientists in Norwich are offering. It's all in aid of research into whether dark chocolate has any health benefits to those at risk from heart disease. The trial's actually been underway for more than a year now, but they're now looking for more volunteers.